Hi, my name is Dylan Wright, and welcome to 500 Films. Welcome back. This is going to be number 352, The Hateful Eight.
Got room for one more?
I wanted to see The Hateful Eight in theaters. I wanted to see the 70mm Roadshow because I heard it was amazing. And it's an event. That's what Quentin Tarantino does best. He makes events. So, I didn't get a chance to see it. It conflicted with my school schedule last semester and whatever. That's not here or now. I did happen to see it on home video, on Blu-ray. The 70mm looks amazing. Another scene shot in IMAX. I do feel like the 70mm is kind of wasted in a cabin, with the exception of the beginning, and then a few scenes in the middle. They're in this one location. And that's the biggest complaint that I heard going into The Hateful Eight, was that it doesn't make use 100% of the 70mm. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. You know, 70mm, you think epics like Ben-Hur, Lawrence of Arabia, those huge sweeping landscapes. And Panovision, this huge, like the dunes of Lawrence of Arabia. You get that in the beginning of this movie, with the snow and the Jesus cross and the opening dialogue between Kurt Russell and Samuel Jackson. You get that in the beginning. But once they get in the haberdashery, you don't really see that. Yes, it looks good because it's 70mm, it's IMAX, It looks great, and Tarantino's a fantastic director, but I feel like the 70mm was kind of worthless. He could have been fine doing 35mm because although you do get that extra like widescreen, it's just too widescreen. There's just not enough space. There's no epicness to it, as in like Lawrence of Arabia with the sand dunes again. You just don't get that feeling of, wow, there's so much space here. I mean, I guess you kind of do because there's so much space. It distorts the feeling of how big this haberdashery is. I mean, it's like a old West country store, like you would imagine, on the Little House on the Prairie, but a haberdashery. So the story is there's a bounty hunter named the Hangman who is going to hang this bounty he's found. On the way there, he's going to go to a town and he's going to have her hanged. She's a $10,000 bounty on her head, and he's going to see her hanged. Well, it starts to snow, and the path to the town has become impassable. So he goes to the haberdashery, where there are 6 other people who are already there. On the way there, he meets Samuel Jackson, who's another fellow bounty hunter. He was a cavalry officer, so he meets up, they get in there, and they have a conversation, and then they run into another man on the side of the road who claims to be the sheriff of Red Rock. So they go into the haberdashery where there's a bunch of people waiting, and then that's where the rest of the movie takes place, in this tiny little haberdashery cabin. Another criticism I've heard of the movie is, before I went into it, was that it feels like a stage play. I have no problem with stage plays, because I used to be a drama student. I love the stage. And then their defense, this would have been a great stage play. Is it a good movie? Yes, it's still a good movie, but it feels really restrictive for Tarantino, because Tarantino, you imagine people moving places to places. You think of Pulp Fiction, it takes place in hundreds, or not hundreds, but several locations. This takes place in one location, and is very different from, say, Django, which came 3 years before, or a few years before. And it just feels different but familiar. Like, it feels like a Tarantino movie, just not with the locations. It feels like a Tarantino movie on the stage, which is not a side against the movie. I think the movie is great. I love the movie. All 2 hours and 47 minutes of this movie. If you don't like long movies, you will not like this movie. This movie is very slow. It has a great build-up. That being said, okay, so let's talk about the physical release that I have. This is the Best Buy exclusive steelbook of The Hateful Eight. As you can see, there's a horse-drawn carriage in the front with blood trailing behind. The front is orange tinted. The back is the white tint, and the back has the standard release cover. Well, this has both on the steelbook cover on the front and the standard release in the back. It's dual colored, so you have orange on the front and white on the back. And if we open it up, you can see how it's laid out. Now here's the DVD of the Hateful Eight, here's the Blu-ray, and here's the digital HD slip. The slip is unusual as in the fact that it is now its own separate quote-unquote disc. You can pop the Blu-ray or the DVD up, and you can see that they have included stills of the cast on that side, as well as this side. So you know they have the cast on both sides. Really like this release. The only thing I don't particularly care for the release is the slip I mentioned before. If this were just a slip like normal, it would just be a piece of paper they put in right here, and they wouldn't have had to make this indent in the plastic. So I'm going to, normally I throw the slips away, but I'm going to leave this slip because it has a spot and it looks very odd, as you can see, without it. So this steelbook is kind of hard to find, as are most of the Best Buy exclusive steelbooks, with the exception of the James Bond ones. If you could go out and if you could find it in stores, I would highly recommend it, just because it looks nice on your shelf. As you can see, it says the Hateful Eight. It's nice, shiny. It's got dual color of the disc itself on the label. But yeah, definitely, if you can see this movie, go see it. And if you can buy this release, definitely buy this release. I'd probably give this movie a like an 8.5, 9. It's no Pulp Fiction, but it's definitely not his worst. If you like Tarantino, you like Hateful Eight, definitely buy this release.